All right, so I thought we'd have a little different angle today, show you a little bit of the water feature where I am. And hopefully there's no alligators in there. So that might be some sort of hint of where I am. So as we kick off again more of this new year, I thought this was a great time for reflection. And not just because I'm wearing my new cheap sunglasses, but because it's the time of year to reflect on what we've learned. Now, we talked a little bit about on Friday about what does it mean to really look back and understand not only the things that we struggled with last year, but the great opportunities we had as well, the things we learned. So I wanted to share with you a few of the things that I've learned in the last year. You know, right now this is the time of year that most people are making New Year's resolutions. Now, I'm not sure how many really are this year. This might be a really interesting question to ask people. In fact, paid attention, we asked you in the app last week. So if you didn't see it, go through your push notifications and find out where we have our little quiz. Love to get your feedback on it. We're going to talk about resolutions throughout this week. But while people are making these resolutions, there's something to, I guess, really look and ask of yourself, you know, what kind of resolution you're making, why you're making it, what it tells you about yourself. But part of that, I think, is the need to reflect about what's worked, what's not worked, and how you know that you're going to try and make changes in your life, personally or professionally. So here's what I thought I'd share with you. You know, when I look back in 2020, especially the beginning of 2020, really honestly to reflect, I was taking it easy. I had a great thing going on. I had so many great speaking gigs lined up. I was enjoying life. I was ready. It was like just an awesome year ahead. And then, of course, everything fell apart. But over the last couple of months, I've had to really think about, well, why was I relying on just, for instance, all the great things that were coming at me? Why was I taking it easy? Why was I maybe not being lazy, but not pursuing all the things that I need to? And I think if you've watched any of these videos before, you know I've shared with you before COVID that 95% of my income came from me getting on an airplane and traveling somewhere to speak or train, which means that that limits you to one income source. And that's not only unfair to me, you know, because what happens if I break my leg where we have a pandemic, but it's also unfair to my team. And it really is actually unfair to my family. And the reason I thought about this is up to that point, I was really being selfish. I mean, if I got an opportunity to go speak or train and that was great income and I got to go see great places and travel the world, then that was really about me, and it was only about me. It wasn't about my business, and it wasn't about my employees, and it wasn't about my family. Now let me tell you what I mean by that. During this year, as we've gone through all these changes and challenges, I realized that I was building my company for me. I was not building my company for you, for my team, or for future generations, and really meaning the legacy of my children and my grandchildren, and maybe beyond that. And I hate saying I'm selfish because that just makes you feel bad. But I think the realization is really important. When I reached that understanding and went, wow, just because things were easy, you took the easy way. And by necessity, we had to change the business and pivot completely to turn around what we're doing. But I realize now in reflection that I am so much more excited about what I'm doing today than I was this day last year. I am so much more energized by my team and how much it's grown. This time last year I had 2 employees. This year I think I have 8. And it's bad that I keep trying to count the number up because we keep adding. We are doing new and incredible things as we build something completely different. And not only am I building that for them, but I'm now building it much more for you. It's hard when you look back and you have to reflect and realize that there are things that you could have or should have done differently. But I'm not looking at it that way. Instead, I'm looking at this really from the sense of, you know, what things do I write in my notebook? And why do I write them down? Well, I do it because I want to be able to go back and read them and say, here's an example of where you went right. Here's an example of where you went wrong. And really, in reality, not only was I selfish, but I was not willing to move past my own comfort zones. And that's my ultimate resolution, is that if I'm going to be an example for my family, for my team, for anyone that I work with, then when I let fear get in the way of important actions, then that's not setting a very good example. So this year I commit, I am resolute that I will continue to watch. I'm not going to say I'm going to be perfect because that's just not realistic, but I'm going to watch more and catch myself more when I fall back into old patterns that lead towards old solutions, and now instead keep myself on a forward progression where my choices and my actions really do lead to better outcomes for my company, my employees, my family. And you know what? I think in that, it's going to be a lot better for me.